Hello and welcome to YNWA Transfer News, your ultimate source for all Liverpool FC transfer news. Our first news is this. Liverpool news. Marc Guehi responds to failed transfer as star left unhappy with Arne Slot call. Liverpool head into their fixture away at Burnley on Sunday knowing that a point is all they require to leapfrog Arsenal and return to the Premier League summit following the international break. The champions headed into the break at top of the pile as the only team in the division to win all three of their league matches after beating Arsenal 1-0. The Gunners responded with a 3-0 win over Nottingham Forest to put the pressure on Arnie, Slot's men ahead of their trip to Turf Moor. Liverpool will be out to make it 4 wins from 4 against Scott Parker's newly promoted Clarets, who are bidding to bounce back after a gutting 3-2 loss to Manchester United prior to the break. Guehi responds after failed transfer. Marc Guehi gave no hints at any underlying bad blood after Crystal Palace blocked a transfer to Liverpool ahead of the Eagles' first competitive match since a dramatic transfer deadline day. Guehi had been given permission to finalize a $35 million switch to Anfield and had even undergone a medical before Palace chairman Steve Parish scrapped the transfer at the 11th hour. But while there has been plenty of speculation since the fallout of said saga, Guehi expressed his excitement at the prospect of working with Palace's new signings in his pre-match program notes ahead of Saturday's stalemate with Sunderland, star unhappy with Slot. Arne Slot has admitted that Federico Chiesa was not happy to learn that he was being omitted from Liverpool's 23-man squad for the Champions League. The Red Boss explained the situation ahead of Sunday's game against Burnley, saying, "Of course, that is one of the most difficult things you have to do as a manager. For a player not to play, it is not always easy to tell them, but not to be in the squad is always more difficult. I just explained to him why we made this choice. Of course, he wasn't happy with that. I think he understood my arguments. That is not to say he agreed with them. He didn't tell me, by the way, that he didn't agree with them. But he gave me the answer you want to hear from a player, that he will be there to help the team in the Cups and in the league." McCoist's new title verdict. Ali McCoist is sticking with Liverpool as his pick to win the Premier League title this season, but he now reckons Arsenal will run them close after watching Mikel Arteta's men play against the champions before the international break. The Gunners beat Forest 3-0 with McCoist commentating on the game for TNT Sports. And the iconic Scott, who tipped Liverpool to retain the title, said post-match, "I've got Liverpool to win the league." However, after watching them play at Liverpool, I think Arsenal will go really close. Liverpool targets next N'Golo Kante but faces Premier League transfer competition. Liverpool is reportedly one of a number of clubs that are keeping tabs on a player who has been dubbed the next N'Golo Kante. Kante cemented his legacy as one of the Premier League's all-time great midfielders across his spells with Leicester City and Chelsea. So it stands to reason that a number of top clubs are apparently keen on signing his heir with Liverpool. Manchester United and Chelsea all interested in Ajax teenager Jordi Mokio. Mokio is still just 17 years old, but has played for Ajax's first team over 20 times. Having made his debut during the 2024-25 season, Team Talk says that Chelsea has extensively scouted the Belgian youngster, while Arsenal, Manchester City, and Tottenham are all named as interested parties. Mokio, who can operate either as a holding midfielder or as a center-back, reportedly turned down approaches from Barcelona and Bayern Munich last year because he wanted to join Ajax, which is a club renowned for nurturing talented young players. Mokio was previously at Belgian club Gent, which is based in the city of Ghent, where Mokio was born. The teenager made his senior international debut earlier this year, coming off the bench in a Nations League game against Ukraine in March. In other transfer news, Liverpool could face competition from Manchester City for Bayern Munich winger Michael Olise, according to Bayern expert Christian Falk. Olise has been linked with the Reds as a possible long-term replacement for Mohamed Salah, who will be 35 when the 2-year deal he signed last season expires in 2027. The case of Michael Olise's contract at Bayern Munich, which expires in 2029, bears some similarity to Jamal Musiala's case, If you wait a little too long, it's getting difficult, Falk said, as he suggested Bayern could look to hand Olise improved terms. In the past, clubs would happily open such talks a year before the contract expired. But now things are different. If you see such quality as Olise possesses, you have to do it much earlier, otherwise the Premier League will be quick to swoop. Manchester City are watching him, Liverpool are watching him. As long as his contract is running, you have a chance to keep him. Now Bayern need to see if they can convince him that his future is in Munich. On the one hand, there is an argument to boost his salary in line with the quality of his performances. But on the other hand, Bayern still want to lower salaries throughout the squad. So it's not easy. Liverpool must drop 2 players from squad as Alexander Isak and Jeremy Frimpong decisions made. Arne Slot is set to make a number of changes to his matchday squad when Liverpool travel to Burnley, despite his side boasting an 100% winning record in the Premier League. The reigning champions won 1-0 against Arsenal in their last outing before the September international break and are guaranteed to retain. Top spot with victory at Turf Moor. Sundays. Match will be Liverpool's first since the transfer window. Closed on September 1st with Alexander. Isak poised to make his debut after joining in a club record 125-meter switch from Newcastle United. However, the Isak is expected to be limited to a cameo appearance off the bench at most, following a disjointed preseason, an 18-minute substitute appearance for Sweden during the international break was the striker's first outing of any kind since the final day of last season, having trained alone for the majority of the summer and effectively gone on strike at St. James's Park in a bid to force through his move to Anfield. Isak was not the only deadline day transfer involving Liverpool this summer. Harvey Elliott exited the club for Aston Villa on an initial loan deal, an unused substitute when the Reds beat the Gunners. Isak is poised to take the midfielder's place on the bench against Burnley, but further changes are also needed with Curtis Jones ruled out of the trip to Turf Moor because of injury. In contrast, Jeremy Frimpong is available again after returning to training this week following a hamstring injury. Slot left Giovanni Leone out of his matchday squad for the victory over Arsenal and will need to leave out senior players again against Burnley. The Liverpool head coach is allowed to name a 20-man matchday squad, but, excluding the injured Jones, currently has 28 players to choose from after the club's 24-man senior Premier League squad was confirmed on Friday. Admittedly, from that 24, you can discount the likes of Reece Williams, Calvin Ramsey, and Fabian Morozek, with the trio instead working with Rob Page's under-21s side. Stefan Bajcetic is still working his back after undergoing surgery on a hamstring injury, while third choice and fourth choice goalkeepers Freddie Woodman and Armin Pexi are also obvious players to leave out of the matchday squad when Alisson Becker and Georgi Mamardashvili are both available, but that still leaves 2 available players that Slot will need to leave out at Turf. Moore Traynaioni was on the bench against Bournemouth on the opening day of the season, before being left out of the squad against both Newcastle and Arsenal. While he could be overlooked again, the absence of Jones could also open the door to the midfielder. Rio Ngumoha has been on the bench for all 3 of Liverpool's Premier League outings so far, scoring a late winner on his debut against Newcastle. It is possible that the arrival of Isak could see the 17-year-old drop out, though, alternatively, Slot might include him at Federico Chiesa's expense, having already opted for the teenager over the Italian in his Champions League squad. Meanwhile, Leone could also be left out again as Slot weighs up who to include in his traveling party. From the win over Arsenal, Elliott and Jones will both definitely drop out with Isak and Frimpong poised to take their places in the 20-man quota. But that will still leave the likes of Chiesa, Ngumoha, Nyoni, and Leone likely competing for the final 2 places in the matchday squad, with 2 players set to be left out as a result. Liverpool to slowly integrate Isak into team after record move from Newcastle. Liverpool. England, record Liverpool signing Alexander Isak, will be gradually integrated into the team after his heavily interrupted start to the season. Manager Arne Slot said Friday Isak, who joined Liverpool for $170 million on September 1, didn't train with Newcastle during preseason or in the first weeks of the Premier League campaign as the striker pushed for a move away from the Northeast club. while on international duty recently for Sweden in World Cup qualifying. He didn't play at all in the 2-2 draw against Slovenia and came on as a 72nd minute substitute for his first appearance of the season in a 2-0 loss to Kosovo. Isak could make his debut for Liverpool at Burnley in the league on Sunday, but it is likely to be from the bench. "We will treat Alex the same as they did," Slot said, referring to Sweden's management of Isak. "Don't expect him to be every single game, 90 minutes, on the pitch. That's definitely not going to happen in the upcoming weeks. He missed a proper pre-season. He missed 3 to 4 months of team sessions, and so now we need to build him up gradually. With us playing so many games and hardly any training time, that's going to be a challenge. But we signed him not only for the upcoming 2 weeks, but for 6 years. Slot grateful. The Liverpool manager reserved praise for Sweden coach John Dahl Tomasson for not throwing Isak straight into action during the international break after the strikers' turbulent last few months. He gets one of the best, maybe the best striker in the world, and he needs to play 2 very important games for his country, but understands if he would play him twice, for 90 minutes, the player would probably be injured for multiple weeks, Slot said. And that's not always easy for a manager that he takes care of the interests of a player, so he deserves a big compliment for that. Congo international Jon Wissa went through a similar preseason to Isak, having limited training with Brentford's senior squad, and then not playing in any of the team's first 3 league games because he wanted a transfer, and one he eventually secured with a move to Newcastle on the final day of the transfer window. During the international break, Wissa started both games and has returned to Newcastle with an injury that means he will miss Saturday's match against Wolverhampton, manager Eddie Howe said Friday. Missing Guehi, Liverpool also came close to signing England defender Mark Guehi from Crystal Palace on the deadline day, only for a move to fall through at the last minute. It leaves the Reds quite short of top-class cover at center-back. "These things happen in football," Slot said. "For me, we would have liked to sign him, Guehi, of course, because we were in for him. It's a pity," Slot added. "Not only for us, but for the player, I think. But he is in a good place, playing at Palace where he won the Community Shield and the FA Cup with a very good manager. So let's see what the future brings for him and for us. Liverpool is the only team on a maximum 9 points from the opening 3 rounds. Mark Guehi makes telling. Crystal Palace admission after Liverpool transfer collapse. Mark Guehi isn't worrying too much about his failed Liverpool transfer and is instead focusing on his performances with Crystal Palace. The England defender saw a transfer to the Premier League champions fall through on transfer deadline day this summer. The Eagles agreed a deal with their top-flight rivals to sell the club captain, who is out of contract next summer, for a fee of $35 million plus a 10% sell-on clause. Guehi underwent a medical with the Reds in London as the deadline approached. But Eagles Supremo Steve Parish pulled the plug on the deal, forcing Guehi to remain in South London. The defender then went on international duty, where he scored his first goal for England in the 5-0 win over Serbia. He has since returned to Palace and will captain the club against Sunderland on Saturday in his first match for the club since the awkward saga. Speaking ahead of the match in his program notes, he made a point of saying he's excited to play alongside the club's new signings and is hopeful that the club can enjoy a successful season. He said, "I'd like to welcome Jeremy Pino, JD Canvat, and Kristantis Uka to the team. They will all bring a high level of quality to the squad, and I look forward to playing alongside them." Looking at today's game, we have another challenging task against a Sunderland team who have started the season very well. Our traveling support is always special to us, but now is a chance to show everyone once again that Selhurst Park is up there with the very best atmospheres in the Premier League. We'll all be giving everything to get another 3 points this afternoon. Make some noise, back the team, and let's keep this fantastic run going. Guehi's manager, Oliver Glasner, also dismissed rumors of tension between him and club chairman Parish over the failed transfer to Liverpool. Glasner, whose side will bid to extend their unbeaten league start against Sunderland, said, "I never threatened to leave the club, never. I didn't have to threaten anybody. There were no bad tensions between the chairman and myself. It was really just a discussion about sports, and he decided against the money and for the sporting perspective of Crystal Palace. Big credit to the chairman. Glasner was also full of praise for Guehi, adding, "It was clear for him that he stuck to his contract. It is credit to Mark that he never threatened to strike. He is a very honest person. That is why I was never worried about this situation. He will be our captain as long as he's here, because he's just such a great player and such a great personality." Martin Zubimendi admits, Liverpool transfer doubts, but Arne Slot has last laugh over Arsenal. Martin Zubimendi helped Arsenal bounce back from defeat to Liverpool as the Premier League resumed after the September international break on Saturday. The Spaniard opened the scoring for the Gunners against Nottingham Forest with a scorching volley to open his account for the club after signing from Real Sociedad in the summer. Before making it 3-0 late on, the Reds surrendered top spot in the Premier League table, temporarily at least, to Arsenal as a result, with Arne Slot's men not in action until Sunday afternoon when they traveled to Burnley. Mikel Arteta's side had lost 1-0 to Liverpool last time out, with the Reds climbing to first with an 100% winning record heading into the international break. Win at Turf Moor, and they will be guaranteed to finish the weekend top of the table, regardless of any other results, while Zubimendi might have helped extinguish memories of their loss to Liverpool against Forest. Red supporters will have afforded themselves a wry smile at getting the better of both the Gunners and the Spaniard last time out. Liverpool had, of course, agreed a deal to sign the Spain international last summer from Sociedad after activating his release clause, only to see him decide against making the move at the 11th hour. The Reds had no regrets in the long run, going on to win last season's Premier League, with Ryan Gravenberch instead shining at number 6 as he emerged as one of the stars of the season. Slot would reference this himself, ahead of facing Arsenal last month as he shared his admiration for both Zubimendi and Gravenberch. What we liked about him was how good he is on the ball and how much game insight he has, Slot said. We thought, and it was true, that we would have the ball a lot in every single game, and then to have someone in front of your defense that is very comfortable on the ball would have been a good fit for us. Especially if he's also defensively strong enough for the league, which he's showing now and which we also expected. But we found all of these things definitely also in Ryan. Zubimendi would insist he has no regrets too, despite missing out on a Premier League title, with the 26-year-old defending his decision on more than one occasion. Thank you for watching. Like and comment, subscribe.